It is narrated that there was a king who had a very pious minister. And this pious minister, whenever anything bad would afflict the king, he would always say, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ, perhaps it is something good. This king, he would go on hunting trips and he would take his minister with him. One day, during one of the hunting trips, the king suffered an accident which caused him to lose his finger. And when this happened, his minister said, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ, perhaps this is something good. And when the king heard this, he became infuriated, he became very angry. And he said, what good can there be in me losing my finger? And he was also very offended, so he had him imprisoned. And he remained in prison for a number of years. During those years, the king would go on hunting trips, sometimes with some of his other ministers, and sometimes he would go on his own. One day, he went on a hunting trip, and he was alone, and he ended up going pretty far away from his kingdom. When he reached a certain locality where the people of that locality, they were idol worshippers, and it was a day of celebration for them. And in this celebration, what they would do, they would go hunting for a human being, they would capture him, and they would bring him, and then they would sacrifice this human being to their idols as a form of worship, a form of sacrifice, and they would do this on this particular day. So they went looking for a human being, and they found the king, and they took him and they brought him to the idols. And when the leader saw him, they said that this person is not suitable for our sacrifice. Why? Because when we sacrifice someone, he has to be a complete human being, but this human being, he has a finger missing, so therefore he is not suitable to be sacrificed to our gods. And the king was returned, and he realized that what his minister had said to him many years ago, that when he lost his finger, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ, perhaps it is something good. And he realized that his minister had spoken the truth. If it wasn't for the fact that one of his fingers were missing, he would be sacrificed, he would have lost his entire life. So because he lost one finger, his entire life had been saved. So he went back to his kingdom, and he hurried to the prison. He released his previous minister, and his minister asked, what is going on? The king said, many years ago when I lost my finger, you said to me, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ, perhaps it is something good. And I felt offended, because how can me losing my finger be of any good? But I realized after many years that you had spoken the truth, because I went on a hunting trip, and I had drifted away from my kingdom until I was caught by a group of people who were idol worshippers, and they had taken me to their leader in order for me to be sacrificed to their gods, and this was something they do on their celebration. But when the leader saw me, he said that I was not suitable for sacrifice because I had a missing finger. Now because of that missing finger, today I am still alive. So you are right when you said that there is some goodness in this for myself. The king, he apologized. Please forgive me, I was wrong to imprison you. The minister, he replied, no. In fact, when I went to prison, I said, لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ, perhaps there was some goodness for me in prison, and this is the case. And the king became amazed. How can there be any goodness for you in prison? You remained in prison for such a long time. You lived a very difficult life. You lived a very restricted life. How can there be any goodness in that? And he said, don't you realize, if I wasn't in prison, perhaps I would have accompanied you on the hunting trip, and when those people caught you, they would have caught me as well. When they saw that you are deficient, or you had a deficiency, that is, you had a missing finger, whereas I myself was in a perfect form, meaning I had nothing missing, you would have been saved, but I would have been sacrificed to their gods. So there was goodness for me in being in prison. Perhaps sometimes you will dislike something, but in reality it is good for you.